Preseason power rankings. Yippee! I've pulled all the teams. Well, all the teams I could find icons for. There were a couple teams from like Pacific or Japan, I think, that did not have team logos, so they won't be included. And full disclosure, a lot of those Pacific and Japan teams I think are going to be a little hard to rank, but we'll see how this goes. All right. So yeah, S tier. This is going to be for the teams that are the best of the best. I think there's going to be two teams here. You guys can probably guess which teams it's going to be, but in due time, right? A tier. These are teams that should be able to be close. They're not going to beat the unbeatables, but they shouldn't be losing a ton either, right? Like the A tier is what we're going to be expecting to see at the LANs. If an A tier team misses out on a LAN, might be a little worrying. I would consider that an upset. B tier teams, those are teams that can take games off the A tier teams every so often, but not consistently. They're definitely not going to be like the world beaters. They're the definition of mid. Are arguably the gatekeeper teams, right? In order to like get from B tier to A tier, you have to like really just start demolishing everyone in the B tier and like show that you're a step above. C tier, these are the underdogs. Their plucky attitudes allow them to make it into OWCS, the tier 1. It remains to be seen if they will actually be able to hold on to that, but they have players with potential, players that can grow, and they're teams to keep an eye on. And then D tier, these are the teams that I either don't really know enough about to be able to rank accurately, or they're the teams that I fully expect to just not win a game. All right, so let's start this off. First off, Zeta division. I think Zeta is a solid A. Probably the top of A tier. We are going to order the teams within the tiers, by the way. I forgot to mention that, but that's an important bit. Zeta is going to be at the top of A. Unless they really start punching up, they're going to be having trouble, I think, making it into the S tier. But based on their performance last year, they're A tier, and it kind of looks like they just are at the exact same performance, right? Violet is still getting money. I mean, dude, I can pull up a clip right now of Violet getting money. Yeah, this is Zeta versus T1. Yep.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass.
That's why A tier. As long as this stuff keeps happening, they will never be S tier, okay? That's just how it is. That's just how it is. All right, next up, this is kind of a twofer. Crazy Raccoons and Falcons, they are the S tier. There's nothing to suggest. They didn't change their rosters at all. I think Raccoons is going to be above Falcons, though. Because when you have the hero bans, Falcons struggles a little. Raccoons does not seem to have that same struggle. Obviously, it's not that big a deal either way. All right. Speaking of way, what a transition. They're going in A tier as well, I think. They gotta go in A tier. They got 3 over Vesta, a 3-0 over Poker Face. Again, arguably not the hardest teams to beat. I'm gonna tell you what, I'll put way bottom of A tier, because I'll go out of order here a little bit. I think T1 and FTG, they got to go in there as well. They're kind of the underdog of A tier. I think they have the potential to really succeed a lot more than their players might indicate. Heesang has been popping off on tank. I will say that. Heesung's been, did I say Heesang? I meant Heesung. Heesung has been looking really, really good. Their backline is just like, they picked 2 players who are like so known for being inconsistent. It's like, oh yeah, Vindame was really, really good one season a few years ago. And same with Vigilante. It's like, oh man, he looked really, really good in like contenders and sometimes in OWL. And then Prophet and Sunjun, they're just like, they're good. Prophet Hitscan is like crazy. Like his Widowmaker is like great, right? But there's nothing about this team that is like, whoa, right? Whereas if I look at Wei, you have the carry factor of who are you and aid. I think I rate that carry factor a little bit more high. Poker Face and VEC, they gotta go B tier. Arguably C tier. Relative to the rest of Korea, you could maybe even put them D tier, but this is gonna be like a worldwide power ranking, so I think there are a lot of teams that they do beat. But yeah, relative to their region, they're struggling. Arguably, one of these, there should be a swap here. Like, that could work as well. Poker Face, I see them beating Vesta. I'm gonna put Vesta in C for now. I'm sorry, but has to be done. New Era. Now, New Era did take a map off Falcons, but they then kind of got stomped. Yeah. New Era is really hard to measure. Where do they line up? I would say probably you put them... Well, I mean, top of B, I think, right? They got 3-0'd by FTG. If you're getting 3-0'd by FTG, I don't think you can be A tier. That map they took off Falcons, that's what's screwing everything up. That makes things so confusing, because like a B tier team should not be taking a map off Falcons. The fact that they did that makes me want to put them in A tier. But a team in A tier should not be getting 3-0'd by another team in A tier. So I'm going to make an executive decision. We're going to chalk up the map they took off Falcons to a fluke. All right. This is my final rankings for the Korea teams. Now, time to move on to EMEA. Team Vision. Where should we put Team Vision? Well, they struggled. Don't get me wrong. They made some banging matches relative to the teams they played against. Like, where is it? Yeah. Team Vision versus Quick. Incredible. I think this was one of the... from an enjoyment perspective, this was one of the most fun matches I've watched in quite a while. It was absolute gigabanger, super fun to watch. And they also had a map 5 against Incendia. Like, they were putting down some peak gameplay, don't get me wrong. But they're losing maps all over the place. If you're a good team, you should not be losing these maps. So it's a weird kind of situation where like, yeah, you've provided us some great matches, but that's because you're not good enough to be winning those matches in a dominant fashion, right? And so like that sucks for them, but I gotta put them C tier. Virtus Pro, one of the biggest question marks in the league currently, if you ask me. You have some of the same players, like you have Shockwave, who very good, obviously. You have Vestola, who proved himself on Ents, great player. And you have Fixa. Like, it's really hard to... There's just nothing on this roster that stands out to me. And you know what? Their roster reveal alone, they gotta lose points for that. Have you guys seen their roster reveal? Let me pull it up here for you. Anyone who hasn't seen it. You give Shockwave a hit scan meta? Maybe. But hit scan metas have become a pretty rare thing if you think about it, right? It's not a common thing to have like a hard cast meta. Twisted Minds. I think Twisted Minds goes A tier, right? Oh, also worth mentioning, they did sign TVNT and yeah, Benbest as a coach and TVNT. TVNT I think is a really important pickup. Before they picked up TVNT, I think things would have been not so great, to say the least. Just because I love Hadi, he is not flexible. he is not known for flexibility. TVNT, you need him for the Sigma, the Diva, maybe the Hazard. I think that's an important pickup. Without that, Twisted Minds would probably struggle, but because of that, I think they're pretty safely in A tier. The Ultimate, basically Ents. The only difference is they have KSA instead of Vestola, and their support line is, well, I guess it's not basically Ents but like 60% of the team is Ents, so good enough. Yeah, Twilight Faith, I rate that highly. Now, allegedly, apparently, according to rumors, they haven't been doing so hot. That's Scrimbucks. Again, that's Scrimbucks. We just saw how Liquid looks if we're listening to Scrimbucks, right? So I'm gonna stick my head in the sand and say probably not a huge concern. The ultimates is probably still very good. Twilight and Faith, they gotta be solid, right? If this team had a more consistent DPS line, I would even put them ahead of Twisted Minds. But the problem is, neither Kevster nor Kai consistently pop off. At their peaks, they're incredible. Don't get me wrong, absolutely incredible. Like the best, some of the best in the world at what they do, right? But it feels like so many times, Kai especially, there's so many times when he gets beaten by people that on paper he should be better than. And Kevster, again, super talented player, but he needs to be on hard carry player, or hard carry heroes, sorry. As soon as you put him on the Mei, the Symmetra, anything like that, his impact is so much lower. Who's more consistent, Quartz or Kevster? Oh, I think Quartz for sure. I don't think I've ever seen Quartz have an off day. Quartz always locks in when his team needs that carry. And Kevster, he can do that, but he does not do it nearly as much. Twilight Faith is such an interesting back. That backline will either move mountains or it'll fall flat on its face. And I'm really hoping that it's the former. I want that backline to succeed, but it is a question mark right now. Alcadzia, W Tread. I agree. Tread is probably like the best rookie tank in EU. I don't know, can you even call him a rookie at this point? If you can, then I think he's the best rookie in EU. His off tanks especially, very, very good. Would I be crazy if I put Alcadzia ahead of Virtus Pro? Would that be insane? QLM and Shockwave are very similar players, I feel. At least from what I've heard. I haven't seen much of QLM firsthand, but I've heard a lot of stuff about him, and he's a very cracked aimer. I think Shockwave is very similar, which means that in a head-to-head, QLM could get the better of that matchup. And then Checkmate versus JWoo? Like, if we look at their histories, you gotta put Checkmate above JWoo, right? Checkmate struggled last year. He did not see much success, but he's an Overwatch League champion. He is world class. JWoo has not yet proven himself to be world class, in my opinion. I'm gonna do it. I think Alcadzia beats Virtus Pro. Next up, Gen.g. A very interesting roster. Sauna and Top Dragon as a DPS line could be amazing, or it could be the biggest throw of their lives. Mag's a solo tank. Ooh, that's so spicy, dude. Oh, that's spicy. I want to like it, but I know it's so risky. If this team lives up to the potential, they can definitely be A tier. But I think to start with, I'm going to put them top of B. Right now, Krusty is cooking something up, right? He's in the kitchen. He's got his recipe. He's cooking something. Right now, it's not at the point where it smells good yet. It looks a little weird, looks a little funky. You're like, oh, this might be good. But you're not gonna know until you actually taste it. That's where we are with Gen.g right now. Sakura, I like this team. I put them top of C. Don't get me wrong. I really like this team. I love the underdog vibes. Only team that's not like a big org, right? Amazing underdog story. I think they need more time to reach the level of these other teams. Stage 2, that could be their time to shine. Until then, though, just keep developing, stay on the grind. Hitori is arguably the best up-and-coming tank in EU. They've been dominating Calling All Heroes. Now, if they can transfer that success to OWCS, big things in store. But I don't know if it's there yet. Team Peps. Very interesting one. You have Exodial, you have Soon, you have Ken. I like this team, and especially their DPS. Their DPS lineup is arguably one of the best, or at least most entertaining in EU. Because I mean, you got Soon, right? How cool is that? And he's not looking bad. He's not dominating, maybe like he would have been 10 years ago. Yeah, I love Peps, but I think they gotta sit bottom of B for now. Peps are a really solid team in a stacked region. Yeah, I agree. The thing is, they could be a lot more stacked too. Like, Icenom is good, but he's never been like a player that I'm like, oh wow, Icenom is just a carry. Like, I like that roster. There's nothing there that I'm like, whoa, what are they thinking? But at the same time, there's also, like, it's very similar that I think it's a roster that still needs more development. FD God especially, he's a controversial pick, let's say. A lot of people think he's a fraud, and a lot of people think he's the best player in France. I don't think he's a fraud. Let me get that out of the way right now. It's because he had that bad season on Shock, I believe. Yeah, it's really hard to say. Like, I like this team, but we could see a coaching diff. I think in terms of like mentality and spirit, and especially with the fan base that Peps have, we could definitely see them like punch up, use the power of friendship type thing. Yeah, I think that wraps up the EU teams. So now let's actually start jumping into NA. Team Liquid, they have to be A tier. Here's the question. How much do we let Toronto Defiance performance last year affect where we rank Liquid? If we take Defiance performance last year, right? They beat Zeta at their peak. They had some solid games against Crazy Raccoons, right? Yes, you have 3 players who've been completely replaced, right? But Infected is basically the North American version of someone. Tree and Knife, I think, are very similar to Merit and Sugar Free, with arguably more flexibility. They are more hero ban proof than Merit and Sugar Free were. Merit especially, he's a very good player, not flexible. Not especially compared to Tree and Knife. Both of them are way more flexible than Merit ever was. Anyway, I think Liquid is like P1 level. Arguably better. Keep in mind, like, in theory, I don't think this is a team that much weaker than Defiant. Like, if Defiant has a power level of 100, I think Liquid is like 95. Let's move on. Space Station. Where do we rank Space Station? SSG better than Liquid. Wait, hold on. We have 2 people saying that SSG goes above Liquid? No way. Guys, they have CJ as a flex support. You are not telling me that CJ is going in the top 5 teams of the world. Look, they're good for North American standards, but a team with Kellen and CJ... Listen, okay, tell you what. If SSG had Ultraviolet, then I would say, sure. I'd say, yeah, you can put them up there. Bliss or Vega? You gotta give it to Bliss, right? Bliss does God's work on main support. Like, it's very, very difficult for main support players to, like, stand out and look like a carry. Bliss manages to do it. That alone goes to show you just how impressive he is. Here's the thing. I am a Kellen believer, okay? I've watched a lot of Kellen gameplay, right? Because he was been in Overwatch League for quite a while. And when I was actually good at Overwatch, like, I looked at Kellen and I was like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. And I still kind of think that. Now, again, I am washed, so it's possible that me looking at him and saying that, maybe that's an anti-feat, right? Like, if I think he's good, maybe that means he's bad. The only question mark is CJ. CJ is the biggest question mark for me, honestly. Like, he's the only question mark, but it's a very big question mark. And again, while I think Kellen is very good, especially at like the Winston and stuff, he's not flexible. He's shown a good Junker Queen and maybe a Wrecking Ball. Like, if Space Station had UV, I would be so much more comfortable putting them there. I will put them here. And I hope you know that's like very much just peer pressure. I am being peer pressured to put them here because what I want to do is put them there. Arguably, maybe even there. Because I think Funny Astro Irony could be a better support line than Bliss CJ. Bliss CJ over Vigilante Vindame? I would agree. I would agree. But I think a large part of that is Bliss rather than CJ. Like, if we drop the main support, right? And we just pit CJ versus Vigilante, do we still put CJ there? That's the question. We'll keep him here. We'll keep him here. Yeah, I like the DPS line for Space Station better than FTG's enough. This is my I did not care for the Godfather moment, okay? I think it's a fine player, Did not care for it. Okay, no, never mind. You guys have convinced me. I'll put them above Way. I will put them above Way. Anyway, Avidity. This is the team that's doing surprisingly well, I will say. Like, they had a pretty dominant way to get out of the qualifiers. Solid players. Wub, the fact that he's still going is impressive, right? Like, you gotta put respect on his name for just the longevity alone at this point. That being said, I feel like they gotta go C tier. This, like, I look at this team and I'm like, this is on the same level as Sakura. Wub Nation, true. Wub heads rise up. Zomba is a demon, but like, I just don't know if it's enough. Walls, I think, is the biggest thing. Very good player, but are they the tank that is gonna carry you to a championship? Nightmare. I put them pretty decently. I think above VP. No, wait, I'm lying. They dropped a map in OWCS qualifiers to Rad. They should beat Peps though, right? Surely. And as for Timeless, that's where I'd put Nightmare and Timeless. Nightmare lost a match in the qualifier. They lost a map. They didn't lose a map. Or they didn't lose a match, they lost a map, right? Timeless beat the team that beat Nightmare. Hold on, let's take a look here. So Rad did beat Nightmare. Oh man, I can't believe that. Rad might be higher than I originally thought. Here's the thing, I like Rad. I rate them highly because Rad, to me, they are this year's Citrus Nation. Having two NA teams over any EMEA teams is very interesting. I could be convinced to put Twisted Minds over FTG. Even both of these could maybe go below these two, but I would need to see it first. No. Am I gonna walk back my decision? I think I might. The more I think about Way, the more I'm like, oh man, they're so good because they have, like, who are you on Genji? But then I'm like, what happens if they shut down his Genji? If Twisted Minds play some weird rush comp that you can't play Genji into, do we just lose? Way's good until hero bans? Yeah, you know what? I'm moving Twisted Minds and the Ultimates up. I'm not sold on the Ultimates yet. FTG over Way. Yeah, maybe. FTG does have the way better tank. Do we value the tank diff? Screw it, yeah, okay. I'm being influenced. I'll give in. I'm being influenced. PU between FTG and Way. Okay, yeah, sure. I like that. That's a good idea. See, at the same time, though, I'm like, this is crazy that we're putting Prophet and Sunjun over Kai and Kevster, but... Alright, anyway, back to NA, now that we've rearranged things a little bit. Avidity. Okay, but see, here's the thing. People were like, Avidity could upset Timeless, which I kind of agree with, given that Timeless always choke, right? But if Avidity upsets Timeless, are we also saying that they upset Rad and Nightmare? Like, this feels wrong to me. Right? I don't know. I feel so much more comfortable with Avidity and C tier. I love Avidity. I want them to do well. Very similar to Sakura for me though. They have to go C tier for me. You know what? That's what we're doing. I feel like that's what I have to do. Okay. Shikigami. I like Shikigami. They have the Canadian players. They got the Canadian colors. Do they beat Vision? Yeah. No. Yeah, Shikigami I don't think beats Vision. And Amplify I don't think beats Shikigami. pretty simple. Shikigami is fine. They did better than I expected. I thought O3 Splash was gonna make it in, but O3 Splash, they did. I rated their tank line way too highly. I thought Rhino and False would just be good enough to carry them in. Did not happen. Amplify, they are the truest underdogs. They are the fact that they are here, I'm so happy for them. Don't get me wrong. I'm very, very happy for them. If some of these other teams didn't exist, I'd put them in D tier. Amplify being Supernova, it was, but like the thing is, like I was watching that game and Chime was in the Twitch chat and he was just saying like, yeah, we suck at Hazard comps. We cannot play Hazard. It really just came down to a good meta for Amplify and a bad meta for Supernova. 9 out of 10 times Amplify don't make it in, I believe. But and because of that, yeah, I have to put them low. I have to put them low. Okay. Next, let's get into the Pacific and Japan teams. Let's start off with the one I'm most confident about, Vortex Wolf. I put Vortex Wolf at least B, maybe higher. Edison, Kalios, I'm gonna put them there. We're gonna speed through these last few just based on like vibes alone and the most recent results we have. Aplom Tiger, I have no clue if that's how you actually say it, but the Tiger team, they beat Insomnia 3-0. Insomnia, I think, is pretty decent. So I'm going to put them there. And Insomnia, I'm going to put there. Hayabusa Gaming, they haven't played yet, so I'll put them there. Inferno, they got 3-0'd by Vortex Wolf. There, I guess. Yeah. Lost Never Gaming. Right, of course. They also have not played yet. We need some D tier teams. These are the teams that I don't think are going to win a single game, right? That's what the D tier is reserved for. Poker Face D tier then. Yeah, maybe. But the thing is, I feel like Poker Face... No, you know what? You're right. Poker Face is too high. I'd put Vesta in D tier before I put full Poker Face, though. But even then, I think like the Architect Dift would be enough to carry them to victory. I think Amplify. I'm sorry, Amplify. I need to do it. And Insomnia, we probably move down as well there. Neom Gaming. They beat Varel. Looking pretty good. We're gonna put them there. And we'll put Varel here. Lazuli. I'm gonna put them under Insomnia. No, I'm gonna put them there. Undercat, I'm putting in D. I'm sorry. Please no hero ban. We're putting in S tier because they've asked that you don't hero ban against them. So therefore they will have an instant advantage over any team they play because no one will ban any heroes when they play them. So immediate S tier. J-Cot, yeah, don't know any of these players. Would they be amplified? Maybe. 99 Divine. Do they beat Varel? Do they beat Poker Face? I don't think they beat Poker Face. The wildcard matches make me think that they're not beating Poker Face or Vesta Crew, if I'm being honest. They maybe could beat Vesta. Poker Face I definitely think is a team that suffers a lot from being in just a region that's way too good. Fade Altair. Do they beat Cheeky? Maybe. Mud Dog. Mud Dog's got to go like right. I think Pacific is actually like pretty strong this year, in all honesty. Because Mud Dog just won Face It OCE. So you got to put them pretty high. Mengong 2. Sorry, Frog. Miku Fan Club. Their tank is out right now. If their tank wasn't out, I rate highly. And then Monster Gear Gaming. Yeah. And then Full House. Could Full House beat VEC? Not anymore. Make a meme team roll. We could do that. Hold on. I'll tell you what. There we go. All right, does anyone else go in Aura Farmers? Low key, I kind of want to put Vesta and Crew in there for having Architect. VP escaping with murder there. Do we? No, but we can't put VP. Do we put VP lower than Peps? Are Peps and VP too high? They might be. See, now that you said that, I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh yeah, wait, you might be right. I didn't reevaluate Peps and VP when I got to NA. One last revision. One last revision. That's my final. That's my final. I think there is a world where Rad beats Peps too high. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Did Peps beat Nightmare? Exodial, Lethal, Ice. No, Nightmare's tanks are too good. There it is. In the S tier, Crazy Raccoons and Falcons. They should not lose a single game to anyone below them. And then A tier, Zeta right at the top. T1 might be able to do good against them, but I don't see T1 breaking into the top 3. Liquid, I think there's a world in which they beat T1, but I need to see it first. I need the proof, but I do think they have the potential to do that. Then once again, obviously I'm expecting them to be a lot stronger than they were last year now that they're practicing consistently and stuff. So yeah, overall I think this is solid. Anyway, I'm running a little late, so I'm gonna call it here. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for all your inputs, and yeah, take care of yourselves. See you soon.